Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this virtual service of UUCC, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua. I'm Eileen, your minister, and I'm so glad to be with you today. Maybe you've already noticed, because you got the email, that this morning's service has shifted a bit from what we had announced. This morning, the topic of our service will be Enough Mercy, a service about the anti-racism work that we are called to do. Next week, we will host our annual Flower Communion worship service. So that's good news if you've not yet sent me a flower picture, a picture of a flower you've encountered in these last few weeks or months. Bonus points if it has your own face in it. Flower selfies are welcome. You can go ahead and email or text those to me throughout the week if you want to see them as part of our service next week. Just a couple other announcements. At the end of our worship service today, we will host our annual congregational meeting. So please stick around for that, especially if you're a voting member. Stick around for our annual meeting right after the worship service this morning. A reminder that for the service, we'd love to see your faces on video, but we're going to keep everybody muted, and then we'll change that when we move into our annual meeting. And then one more announcement, which is about a summer adventure religious exploration. I'm going to post a link in the chat box where you can sign up to be part of religious exploration for all ages over the summer. You'll get a packet of screen-free spiritual exercises to do over the summer in addition to our summer worship services. And again, it's for all ages. So you can do it as a whole family. You can do it as an individual, as a group of kids. So here's a link to sign up for Summer Adventure if you'd like a packet. And we're going to do a packet pickup day, a drive-through pickup day at the church on July 5th. So more info on that to come. But if you're interested, please sign up today. And then I see in the chat an announcement about social and environmental justice roadside cleanup, distance style. It'll be on Saturday, June 13th at 10 a.m. So you can pick up your kit and assignment from the church porch and then return all the gear for cleaning when you're done. And then you can also, a note from that committee as well, you can visit blacklivesuu.com to help expand the power and capacity of Black UUs within our faith. And with that, I invite you to take a deep breath and let us enter a space of worship. Let's light our chalices together. If you've got one at home, I invite you to light it at this time. And as we do, we'll say our chalice lighting words. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, hopes and needs. You guys, I'm forgetting the chalice lighting words. Help me out.
We celebrate.
Thanks, Laura. Go ahead.
We celebrate. Oh my gosh.
How many years of my life have I said these? They're not even written down. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, hopes and needs.
Gifts and needs. We celebrate this beacon of hope.
Sign of our quest for truth.
Sign of our quest for truth and meaning. In celebration of this life we share together. Thank you for your help, everyone. How many years has it been? I've been saying those words every single Sunday. But here we are. So I want to share with you a picture. Yesterday, I went to a Black Lives Matter protest in Rochester. Here's what I looked like. And I've got to tell you that the minute I buttoned up that shirt, which I only wear on the rarest of occasions, it's really protest gear only, I thought to myself, as I think every time I wear it, damn, this collar is uncomfortable. And then I was reminded of an elder Episcopal priest friend of mine who told me once that the clergy collar is supposed to be uncomfortable. It's meant, he said, to symbolize the yoke around our necks, symbolize the burden of the job that we've undertaken. I don't know if that's true, but whether it's got truth in it or not, that little tidbit has wisdom in it. And so I thought to myself, I was reminded of him as I buttoned up that collar and felt discomfort, that yes, this work is supposed to be uncomfortable sometimes, maybe a lot of the time. I was uncomfortable going to be in a large crowd in public and being a bit of a germaphobe. I think justifiably anxious about COVID-19. I was uncomfortable doing the hard work of anti-racism as a white person. And I think this is why we come to church, right? Not to be comfortable, although this is a place where we comfort one another sometimes, but to be in a very holy way, uncomfortable, to be made uncomfortable, not to enter into the warm embrace of the status quo, but to work together for radical transformation of this beautiful world. And so I invite you, as we begin our service this morning, get uncomfortable in your seats. Get comfortable with your discomfort. And let's join together in singing our first hymn, There's a Wideness in Your Mercy. We are a community in which we hold each other in our joys and in our sorrows. This is where we make a space for those deepest and biggest feelings in our hearts. And so I invite you this morning to share whatever is on your heart in our chat box, here in our Zoom worship, or if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, in the comments section. Let us know, what are the greatest joys and sorrows you're carrying with you today. I invite you, if you have joys or sorrows on your heart, to share them now via chat, and know that whatever you're sharing or whatever you're holding silently, we are with you. For all these joys and sorrows shared, and for all that are left in the silence of our hearts, know that we are with you. And now is the time in our service where we enter into the spiritual practice of generosity. The good work of our church, whether we meet in person or whether we stay apart, is funded by gifts and donations from all of you. And this month's service partner is the Out Alliance for the month of June. The Out Alliance is a champion for LGBTQ+ life and culture. You can give to this morning's offering on our website. I'm going to post in the chat box a couple of ways and in the comment section on YouTube. You can give to this morning's offering by going to canandaiguauu.org/connection, or by mailing a physical check to the church at 3024 Cooley Road in Canandaigua. And in both cases, if you'd like it to be part of the offering for this morning, then you can make a note that it's meant to be part of the June 7th offering. And in that case, the entirety of your gift will be shared with our service partner this month, the Out Alliance. And now let us enter a time of centering, followed by some shared silence. I invite you to take a deep breath. Stay uncomfortable in your body, even as you maybe get comfortable in your seat. Let some part of you, maybe a foot, find the floor and feel supported by that good earth beneath you. This morning, I share with you a meditation by Mary Helen Kennerly. She writes, "Want to know why Minneapolis is burning? Mama. He called Mama. At least that's why I want to burn. Why I feel like I could scream until flames rip out my throat. He has called up great power. I want all of us to turn. All of us who have heard Mama in a store and thought it meant us. It's time to turn. White mamas, mamas with privilege, you have been summoned. And any of us who have ever cried out, Mama, we hear it too, down in our bones. It's a cry that can't go unanswered anymore. So Minneapolis burns. And we need to gut all the spaces in our lives where systemic racism has quarter. I think of the other mamas who turned a tide, Emmett Till's, for one. We speak out of the deep mystery from whence all life springs. My white people, nurture anti-racism in your life like you would a child in your arms, even if you've only just heard it named. Learn what it means and how to foster it. Care about it, give it space in your life, come to understand it, even if it's difficult and challenges everything. Mama is coming, and the men who make order in the world should feel very afraid.
even while the sun comes stealing, visions of the day revealing, brings a pure and holy feeling all through the night.
I took a walk last week and saw the broken glass of a liquor store's windows a block or so from my house. I felt sad to see it, a little scared. But when I look at the glass broken on the ground or hear sirens near and far through the night, I feel nothing like how I feel when I pull my baby in close in the dark while he sleeps and sniff his little tuft of hair, run my finger over his cheek just to feel the softness of his skin, and think of how George Floyd called out for his mother as he died. Broken glass is not a broken body, and generation after generation of mothers' babies have been taken from them forever. My distaste for broken glass will never match the waves of unrest in me, in knowing that none of what I have, my big warm house with its unbroken windows, my full cupboards, my sense of peace, the security with which my sons will walk through the world, none of that is mine by rights. I've lived every day of my life on looted land. The small and comfortable place I've carved out for myself and my beloveds in this world is possible only because my ancestors grew their wealth and their freedom on the stolen labor of stolen people. I preach from a pulpit that sits on stolen property. How can I possibly stand there and call for peace, for justice? In truth, I shudder to think what justice might truly look like for me, for us. I shudder to call out for what we might rightfully deserve. We may give lip service to a passivity that passes for peace or moderation misnamed as justice, but what we really need, we who live on looted land, is mercy. Even this, my friends, will not be comfortable for us. First, we need to make room for the fury that is swelling up, as unsettled as it may make us feel, in all its forms. A riot is indeed, as Dr. King eloquently put it, the language of the unheard. And we are not going to waste a moment today on theories about so-called outside agitators. They may or may not be present in the uprisings around the country, but to focus on them is an erasure of righteous Black rage. Because people are calling from every corner of this nation, as George Floyd did, for mercy. Before the work of justice can even begin, after 400 years of brutality, people are shouting in the streets for the mercy of taking the knee off their back. Enough mercy from the weight of oppression just to take a breath. And I'll say again, we are the ones, we who live on looted land, who were raised by the structures of white supremacy, we are the ones who need mercy for the sin of racism. And our finding it is the path to liberation for everyone. Because racism is not the problem of people of color to solve. It's our problem, white folks' problem to solve. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable. I know it's hard to hear me talk about white supremacy and not mentally check out like, oh, she's not talking about me. I'm not racist. I'm a good person. I know because I do that too. We know that's not true though. right? That racism isn't an individual personal characteristic, just like police brutality isn't the mistakes of a couple bad apples. It's poison in the water, and it's spoiled all the apples, us included. Mercy for everyone looks like us figuring out how to heal from that. It looks like a radical cleansing of the water we're all drinking. I don't say this to make us feel guilty. White guilt helps no one. I say this so that we might be willing to do the work. Ours is a work of deep and shameless humility. And in the face of a culture that has trained us with deep generational memory of supremacy, humility is a hard and constant, uncomfortable work. For us white people, even white people who think of ourselves as good people, as anti-racist, radical change is not going to have the appearance of peace. Because here's the thing, the walls of our privilege create a space that is called peaceful. It seems to have the quality of peace and of justice. Our identity is served by the force of power. And that force, a violent force, let's be clear about that, creates in our world an illusion of peace. It isn't peaceful, though. What we mean, those of us with this kind of privilege, when we say peace, is security, order. And this sense of security comes at the expense of a desperate grasping for control by a massive apparatus of power. That apparatus is and always has been rooted in white supremacy. The very first looters of this land brought with them people who were also stolen and whose freedom and labor would be stolen for hundreds of years. The origins of modern police are in the slave patrols enforcing that system. The modern prison system is a direct product of the end of slavery in its original form and a means of subjugating the bodies of people of color. The world of privilege seems just, seems peaceful, but all it actually has been is orderly. And that order has been built on the backs of Black people. That order is the knee pressing down on their necks. For those of us who inhabit these spaces of privilege, our illusion of peace has meant the implementation of an ever more militarized police on our behalf. The continued violence of a military force that covers the globe on our behalf. Prisons overfilled with Black and brown people on our behalf. And a system of capital that relies on exploited bodies of laborers on our behalf. A total ravaging of the earth and its creatures, including ourselves, on our behalf. All of this is to give us the sense of peacefulness, of security. And as long as that sense of peacefulness makes up our whole understanding of peace, the violence on our behalf expands and expands. The hand that grasps at security can never stop grasping. This peace is a false idol that cannot be held. My life only looks fair and peaceful because power is on my side. If we dare ask for mercy, we'll have to start by asking ourselves, whose side are we on? Our monthly theme of compassion begins this week. And compassion means literally to suffer with. To suffer with. And that's what's required of us white folks in this moment. Not self-flagellation or performative guilt, certainly not any kind of ego-driven public demonstration of our own wokeness or attempts on our part to be leaders in a movement that does not belong to us. To go instead to the places and spaces where Black leaders are organizing a movement and be with them. Be with them, listening to the wisdom of their lived experience, following their lead, even when it makes us uncomfortable. And it will. It will mean, at the minimum, watching unfold what looks very little like the order and control we've always called peace, and not condemning it as if upheaval of order is as damnable as generations of cruelty. It will mean sitting uncomfortably before dismissing them out of hand with the demands to abolish police who may have served our own interests for so long, who have made us feel safe. It ought to mean the work of noticing and rejecting these instincts, these places where the lie of white supremacy governs our lives. It may very well mean the moving of our own bodies, imbued with the privilege of security, into the spaces of suffering and placing ourselves between the apparatus of power and the people who have suffered from it for too long. None of this is comfortable. All of it is hard, but it is not a punishment on us. It is a mercy. In the words of our benediction from last week, all people are my people. We all get free together. Enough mercy will be to know that we too are harmed by white supremacy, by our own complicity in oppression. Even we don't come by our privilege unscathed by its procurement. In other words, our stake in the wounding of others, however small, wounds us too. I too am bound by the power that moves on my behalf. This kind of compassion is not comfortable work. The way of liberation is to suffer with those who are suffering on the margins of this system. To suffer with, because we know there is no without. We are all bound together. The way of liberation is to sacrifice our comfort, our security, our order for enough mercy that we might all be free someday. May we be brave enough to be so humble.
My father could use a little mercy now. Fruits of his labor fall and rot slowly on the ground. His work is almost over, won't be long, he won't be around. I love my father, he could use a little mercy now. My brother could use a little mercy now. He's a stranger to freedom, shackled to his fears and doubts. Pain that he lives in is almost more than loving will allow. I love my brother, he could use some mercy now. My church and my country could use a little mercy now, as they sink into a poison pit. It's gonna take forever to climb out. They carry the weight of the faithful who follow them down. I love my church and country, they could use some mercy now. Every living thing could use some mercy now. only the hand of grace can end the race toward another mushroom cloud. The people in power, they'll do anything to keep their crown. I love life. Life itself could use some mercy now. Yeah, we all could use a little mercy now. I know we don't deserve it, but we need it anyhow. We hang in the balance and dangle between hell and hallowed ground. Every single one of us could use some mercy now. Every single one of us could use some mercy now.
Offer as a benediction these words from the Indigenous Australian activist Lilla Watson. If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. Friends, will you join me in singing our closing hymn, 123, Spirit of Life?
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Giving life the shape of justice, roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
And as we prepare to extinguish our chalice, let's take a deep breath together. Maybe place your hands in the corners of your frame as if we're all reaching out to one another, touching hands frame to frame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May it be so.